Welcome to the Pride Perspectives radio show. Our show today is celebrating queer artists in Santa Cruz and Monterey counties with Melissa Marzan and Paul Richmond. April is officially Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month in Santa Cruz, celebrating the local creativity community, and we are celebrating the queer arts community throughout April. Hopefully, you are taking in some of the amazing visual and performing arts across Santa Cruz County in April as part of the Ripple Effect Arts Festival. My name is Rob Darrow, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. Our Pride Perspectives radio show is here on KSQD every other Sunday from 5 to 6. Find all our recordings and updates on the Santa Cruz Pride website, santacruzpride.org, and on KSQD. I'm here tonight with my co-host, Cece. How's it going, Cece?
Great. Thanks, Rob. Yep. Here we are. My name's Cece Pinero. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And our show is guided by the following beliefs. We believe that Santa Cruz County is thriving partly because of the contributions of LGBTQ plus people, and LGBTQ plus people in Santa Cruz County are thriving because of the broader Santa Cruz County. We believe in the words of Jewish poet Emma Lazarus, that none of us are free until all of us are free.
On this show, you will hear us refer to queer history and LGBTQ plus history. For us, these terms are interchangeable and refer to people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and anywhere on the gender identity spectrum and who they are attracted to. All are welcome to be part of this radio show. So we continue to celebrate the arts across Santa Cruz and Monterey counties, asking the question, does queerness inform art or does art inform queerness? Our last show, we heard from queer artist Rebecca Jordan, who talked about how her art emerges from her painting in mixed media. Her art was displayed at the Pajaro Valley Arts Center, and then we had Melissa Kreisa and Rose Ellery talking about the Ripple Effects Arts Festival that is taking place across Santa Cruz County. I enjoyed Dancing with the Streets earlier this week, and then did the Sunrise Walk at Lighthouse Field yesterday with Franz Lanting. For those of you aren't yet involved with the Ripple Arts Effect, we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but you can go to rippleartsfestsantacruz.com.
So, Rob, how was that?
Oh, it was the morning at Lighthouse Field. Yeah. It was amazing. Just amazing. Now, we had to get up at 5:30 in the morning to get there because the light started to do its thing at 6. But the amazing part was, first of all, Franz Lanting organized all that, and he's incredible in himself. And then the other thing was all these dancers from Motion Pacific were there, these women, you know, in kind of their leotards out there. It was cold in the morning. I had, you know, my scarf and headset on. But once that light started coming up and the silhouettes of the people and all that was just amazing. So it was a wonderful event. Have you taken in any of the arts yourself?
Well, you know, I'd have to say I am involved in a lot of different kind of art stuff, and I actually sold my first painting just today.
I didn't know you painted.
Yeah, who knew? I just started doing that literally, I mean, sort of during COVID is how it all started. And it's funny because I started doing Zoom art classes with Rebecca, who was on our last show.
You did art with Rebecca?
Yeah. Oh. And we did that during COVID on Zoom with one of our other friends, Kim. And we started doing art on Zoom, and then I started getting into art, just sort of, you know, abstract, and then I started doing art for grief after all the loss I had in my life, and I just started doing a lot of different kinds of art. It's a great art therapy, and I also have my daughter's husband's dad makes lamps out of old recycled musical instruments that the public schools can no longer use or fix. Nice. His other son is a public school teacher, and when they can't fix them anymore and they're too expensive to fix, they literally throw them away, and so he takes them and recycles them and makes lamps out of them. That's his art.
So art's kind of part of your family.
Yeah. Well, and my daughter is a professional. I mean, she's a professional designer. She went to UC Davis and studied design, and has done art her whole life. And she had her first art displayed in the office when she was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's great you brought Rebecca Jordan back up, because she was our guest on our last show. And one of her great lines, I don't know if you remember it, but she said, people are looking for the crooked lines because her art does not necessarily have straight lines to it. And lots of people picked up on that line and just thought it was really important to keep that in mind. And I imagine our art guests tonight can all talk about that as well, about crooked lines.
Yes, exactly. So, our show tonight celebrating queer artists in Santa Cruz County and Monterey counties with Melissa Marzan and Paul Richmond. And our guests tonight, like I said, Melissa and Paul. And we're excited to have Melissa here in our studio with us. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here. This seems so official.
Yay, good. Welcome to the Pride Perspective Radio Show. Can you share a little bit about who you are and your background?
Awesome. So my name is Melissa Marzan. I'm a local Santa Cruz artist. I'm a hand lettering illustration artist with a focus on murals. And I've been running my business, the letter Mermaid, locally for the last 5 years, and really dove into it during COVID. And so I did a lot of chalk art as like a larger medium. I was part of an at-home mural festival, and that's where I started my desire to paint something bigger and make a bigger impact with larger art. I've grown up in the Monterey area, but always came by Santa Cruz for field trips and for family trips, and so it's been really nice being able to fully grow my roots here. And it's funny that you mentioned UC Davis because that's where I went, and I studied design and psychology, and so
awesome.
It's been fun to merge those majors and just fully use my artistic background to really set myself up here in the community.
And did you design the logo that's on your shirt?
Yes, so this is from last year's San Jose Sharks Pride theme night for their jersey. And so this was one of the biggest projects I had ever done up to that point. And to be able to celebrate my queerness in that kind of platform alongside my friends and my family, and being able to watch that game and see my design all over the stadium like that was absolutely incredible.
So I just want to say to the people listening that the sweatshirt is beautiful. It's got all these colors, and there's a shark on it, and the shark is biting on this sign that says "Exist as you are."
It's a pencil.
Oh, it's a pencil.
The shark is biting.
It's the hockey.
Oh, the hockey
stick.
Oh,
and then
hockey
at
stick.
the end.
Oh my God.
I didn't see that part. Oh, that's right. There's the
Yeah.
progress flag at the end.
And
Great.
I got to do the little
Yeah.
patches. Exist
as you are.
And then I
Nice.
got to do a pride version of one of their retro
Shark fins.
shark fin
Yeah.
logo.
So cool.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
See, beautiful. Good thing you to see. I didn't see. I thought that was a pencil, and you just thought it was a sign.
Well, I only
Then
saw the
see
bottom
hockey
part,
sign.
I
right?
discovered it.
But
Yeah.
I did see the writing, the "Exist as you are." So
It's so cool.
So that's great hearing that you
you.
grew up in Watsonville and went to UC Davis, and then you came back. What caused you to come back?
So it was really funny because I had been working at a copy shop in Sacramento after graduating. And then I was looking around for jobs because as a graphic designer, you kind of just can work in any industry.
Right.
And so just looking through everything. And at some point, a job had opened up at the Santa Cruz Warriors. So I'm I grew up watching the Warriors / the Lakers with my dad. And I'm I know some things about basketball. So I had applied, and I did a one-day interview, drove down to Santa Cruz and then all the way back to Sacramento. Ended up becoming one of their graphic designers for 4 years. And so that was a really, really cool time to just become a part of the community and also just practice the diploma that I had gotten.
Yeah, how fun. I bet your family was happy to have you back.
They were very excited. My dad especially. And he got to go to basketball games. So that was really fun.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's always good to give back to those parents.
Exactly.
So we know you identify as queer. Could you talk a little bit about your coming out story and your queerness?
So for that, I identify as queer / bisexual. That journey, I feel, is a little different for me because even as a kid, I'm I always knew I was weird and I was different in the way of just I'm a Filipino-American. I was never the population in the town that I grew up in, Castroville. It's very Hispanic, very white, and not I could count the amount of Asian kids on all of my fingers.
Yeah.
And so I was always going to be different, but it wasn't until I think later in life where I'm just I started questioning my own sexuality and just figuring that out for myself. Officially coming out, I don't have a this is who I am. It was just a slow introduction to like me finding who I was myself, because I had already been so authentic like me, thankfully, with such a embracing like community. I've just slowly tried to identify that as myself. For a long time I was just like, oh, I'm straight, like I've only dated guys, like but at some point I'm just like, oh, I think I'm attracted to also women, and just like having that switch, it was just like very gradual versus being like, oh, I am this, and trying to define that like either earlier or later in life. And I know it's like a spectrum and it could change. And so being able to grow as myself with these awesome communities that I've been a part of, I never felt like I had to come out in a way. It was just like, for me, I started checking the box. I'm like, oh, I'm bisexual now. And then for like smaller groups, I'm like, hey, like this is what I'm identifying as at this moment. Like, either way, I knew they would accept me, but I'm like, for me, I'm like, I would like you to know this part about me. And so like, even as a kid, I found out about the Day of Silence when I was like 11 years old. And because one of my favorite teachers, like to this day, that I still talk to her, introduced like that area of life to me. And so I had protested as an 11-year-old. I put duct tape on my mouth and I had participated. Like, no one told me to do it, but I'm like, I had so many queer family members at that point. I'm like, this is for them. These are for the people who don't have a voice. And so that was like my first instant of just like, this is a community I would like to fight for, essentially.
And can you identify like about the age when you said to yourself, I'm bisexual, or the first person you said that to, or the first group, about what age that happened?
I think the first time ever, it was with my best friend in like the 6th grade. But it was just like, oh, she was like, are you sure? And I'm just like, maybe, but I never looked a bit further than that. And then at some point I just didn't think about it until like later, because I'm like, I don't think I count. It's like one of those moments where like, I don't think I deserve to be a part of this group because I haven't proven myself to be queer enough. And like, as like a straight passing person, when I'm with my partner, because he's cis and male, is just like, oh, I don't know if I'm gay enough to be here almost. And so I still feel that like weirdness of just like, am I allowed to be here?
But so later in life you felt you kind of more embody the queer bisexual world.
Yeah, I think it definitely started when I was doing my artist statement as a creative. I'm just like, I think I am able to accept this part in a way of just like being able to tell everybody. It's funny because like I feel like the first time I really did it to just casually do it was like in a like looking for a housemate thing on Craigslist. I'm just like, this is a queer household, and it felt right to me. And so I'm just like, all right, like this is cool. This is like the first gradual thing, rather than like feeling like I just fell off a cliff and everything changes.
Isn't it? I mean, I think I can identify with real, being in a space and going, oh, that's gay. Oh, that feels right, and that happens to all of us. So,
well, and that's such a great example of, does queerness influence art, or does art influence queerness? And what do you think? I mean, do you think that the queerness influenced your art, or was the art, you got to do this queer art and so that influenced your queerness?
I think queerness is also aligned with like authenticity. I feel like as I accepted like a more authentic version of myself, I was ready to like accept more of that and represent more of that in my art. So I'm like, whenever I wasn't able to feel like I identified with the community, I didn't feel like I had the right to include queerness into my art per se. Like I did a lot of like chalk art that had like, I would do pride stuff, but I'm like, I could still feel like in my soul, like some kind of disconnect. I'm just like, do I have a right to be able, I'm like, I'm an ally, but for some reason that still didn't resonate with me. So once I was just like, yes, this is my community, it felt so much more gratifying and more like, I don't know, more solid for me to say like, hey, this is for us.
And then the universe supported that with this San Jose Sharks thing, where you got to see your art all over. And it's like, it was like, just so, it's so inspiring and so cool. Like you became your authentic self, and it displayed itself in your art, and everybody was like, this is the best. I'm choosing this, because there was a competition probably, or some kind of application process to become the person to make that for the sharks, right?
Yeah, they shout out to Local Color because they're awesome in bridging the gap between artists and like bigger like corporations and businesses, because they're just like, hey, we'll love to send their portfolio in this batch of like people that we send over, and then they get to pick. I had originally been asked to do it for like their Women of Teal project, but then they're just like, hey, we chose someone else for this, but you are perfect for this other thing. And I'm like, that's awesome.
While we're thinking about it, if people wanted to find you, what's the best way for people to find you?
So I'm active on Instagram at @Mermaid, and I also have a Facebook, and I have my website, thelettermermaid.com, but a lot of my activity is either on Facebook or Instagram at @Mermaid.
We'll mention that later too, because as we get into more of this. So when did you know that you were going to be an artist? I mean, I know you studied graphic arts in college, so there must have been stuff earlier in your life were you drawing and doodling from like 2 years old, or how did all that art stuff develop?
So I am an only child, so I grew up like with a lot of downtime to myself. And so as a kid, like we're all just, once we have crayons and whatever else, like it was always encouraged. Like at some point during my childhood, like all I would want was like art supplies. And so whenever we would travel too, I'd have like a traveling art kit. I'd just have stacks of paper and like my markers. And it was just always encouraged. My parents never like made me feel like I had to choose a specific career. And as Asian American, usually it's just like, oh, you should be a nurse or you should be a lawyer or something. They never like forced that upon me. They just saw that I had creative instincts. So at some point my dad's like, are you going to be an architect? And I'm like, I'll figure it out. And like, thankfully, when I got to college, I was just like, I found graphic design. And so even still as like a person going into college, I'm just like, there was a part of me, I'm just like, I don't want to be part of like the starving artist thing, which is so problematic in itself. And so almost as a like plan B, I'm just like, I found graphic design. And so I'm just like, I can still be creative and do art in a different way, in a way that doesn't stress out my parents too much, but also I still get to explore this facet of art that has a function in society. And I had a lot of really good fun with that and like learning how to do that and actually applying it in future, like my jobs. But I still found a part of me yearning for a different kind of creativity where I could express myself versus like designing for like a basketball team. And so even while I was like still doing design work for a corporate job, I was exploring like art markets. I had opportunities to do that, and like my family and friends would like show up for me. And so I'm just like, okay, once I had like the taste of that and like trying to just give myself back my own creativity in that way, that's where I'm just like, okay, might be able to make this work. And so there were like turning points in like my career of just like, maybe I can do this and I don't have to work in a corporate office and I can still be creative. And so
I mean, you have lots of projects. It's just amazing all that you're doing. And of course, you and I first met with the Santa Cruz Pride Utility Box Art Project. And for those of you out there living in Santa Cruz, you got to go buy the utility box at the corner of Riverside Drive and San Lorenzo titled Be Radical and Stay Magical, the Santa Cruz Radical Fairies. And together we learned a lot about the Radical Fairies and their importance in history, and that box was just amazing that you painted. Is there another project that you want to mention that has been especially significant to you?
So I would love to mention this because this is for all of the Santa Cruz community. I was selected as one of the artists to be a part of the Ocean Street Beautification Project. So that is the off-ramp exit that's right off the 17. I'm part of that project to beautify that area. I designed signage alongside the Idea Fab Labs here to fabricate a giant hand-painted and like redwood built sign to welcome everyone coming into Santa Cruz. And so I will be hand-painting parts of our locations from Santa Cruz that are very iconic into a sign that says Santa Cruz welcomes you. And so that will be installed by the end of the year, and we will be starting that project really soon. And so I'm really excited because that was one of the first requests for qualifications or proposals. Like it's a really intense application, and I had filled it out
through the city of Santa Cruz.
Yeah, through the city of Santa Cruz. I filled it out like 3 years ago. Like I had way less experience than I had now, but like they encouraged emerging artists, and I'm like, I had one of like my artist mentors, Abby, suggest I apply to it, and I'm like, okay, if you believe in me, I guess I have to believe in me too. So like I gave it my best, and thankfully there was also a program that was going on in Watsonville to help artists apply for things like that. And so it just aligned so perfectly that I'm just like, all right, I have the best chance I can at this point in my career. I'm just going to try, and ended up getting it along with Mose, who's a local artist as well. So I'm really excited to work with him.
Yeah, that
too.
information is all online for people who want to go look at that. When you say end of the year, do you mean like December?
So somewhere between, we're aiming for after Halloween, but before Thanksgiving.
Okay, so the
Great.
calendar year. Oh, it'll be fun to see that open.
I'll watch you do that, because I live right by there. So
I just drove by there and saw that big fence around there, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I know Melissa will be putting her art there soon. So we're going to take a short break and then talk with another queer artist.
welcome back to the Pride Perspective radio show here on KSQD. My name's Cece Pinero, and today our topic is celebrating queer artists in Santa Cruz and Monterey counties with Melissa Marzan and Paul Richmond. You just heard a little bit from Paul Richmond, but we have him here. And now we welcome Paul in person on the phone, a passionate advocate for social justice, arts education, and LGBTQ plus rights. Welcome, Paul. Welcome again to the Pride Perspective radio show. We played a little of your interview talking about growing up and how you were bullied and how art was your escape. Yeah. So hi, welcome. Can you share a little bit about where you grew up and about your education that led you into art as your career?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, too. I really enjoyed listening to Melissa beforehand also. It's great to have so much support for the arts in our community. I grew up in a small town in Columbus, Ohio in the 80s. So it was very conservative. I went to a private religious school, so I just had no exposure to queerness at all in my youth, at least that I was aware of. I just felt that there was something different about me. But I always loved art from the as long as I can remember, really. But as a 3-year-old, my parents would say that I would get up really early before them and go down to the dining room table and start drawing. And by the time they came downstairs, I had several hundred drawings finished. They were not good drawings. They looked like anything any other 3-year-old would make, but I just loved doing it so much. And so I was very fortunate. I always say my art education began then because even though my parents weren't artists, they didn't have any connection to the art world. They found an artist who lived in our neighborhood named Linda Regula and convinced her to start teaching me art lessons at her studio. So once a week I'd go over to her house, and she had me oil painting by the time I was 4. She had never taught kids before, so I think that was actually ended up being a really good thing for me. She taught me the same way she would teach her adult students, and we just really bonded. And it was from that point on that I just knew this was what I was supposed to do with my life.
That is a great story. And then what did you do? Did you go to college, and where did you go to college?
Yes, so I went to Columbus College of Art and Design, which was also near where I grew up. It was a good opportunity to learn a lot of technical skills, but I remained in the closet the whole time I was in college, probably because I was so close to home, and I was one of those kids that didn't want to disappoint my parents. There was a lot of homophobia in my family, so I feel like it's really difficult as an artist to make authentic, genuine art if you are lying to yourself about who you are. So I think.
Could you say that again?
Yes.
Repeat what you just said there.
I'll try. Let's see. I think it's really difficult to make authentic, genuine art if you are lying to yourself about who you are.
Nice.
So when I was in college, I did a lot of like landscapes and different things that, I was just kind of trying to fulfill the assignment basically, but it wasn't until after I graduated and figured out who I was and started to go down that path in my life that I feel like my art identity really kind of caught up, with that. And the two sort of just wove together all throughout my journey. I've always sort of been identified in, different like articles and things as gay artist Paul Richmond, which I think some people might find annoying, but as gay as I am, it would be kind of annoying, I think, if I had, tried to distance myself from that, because I do paint a lot about my queer identity and about causes that are important to me as a queer person. So I'm proud of that, actually.
That's wonderful. How did you end up in Monterey area?
My husband is a nurse practitioner, and he was just looking for new opportunities, and I said I could, do my thing anywhere. So he put his resume out and ended up finding a job out here. We moved in 2016, and I had never heard of Monterey, to be honest. I didn't know what I was getting into. When I Googled it, I just saw a bunch of photos of the Bixby Bridge. I didn't know what I was coming to. But I absolutely love it here. I love going up to Santa Cruz. I love being able to, so easily access San Francisco, and just had a lot of great opportunities myself, too, since we moved out here. So it's been a great thing for both of us.
So where did you meet your husband then?
Back in Columbus, we both lived there really our whole lives, and we met 20 years ago on gay.com. There were no apps or anything then, so but you know what you're shopping for if you're going on gay.com, I guess. Yeah, we hit it off. We've been together ever since.
Oh, that's
great. Can you
great.
tell us your coming out story? Talk a little bit about your coming out story and your queerness. So backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I, like I said, it was not until after I graduated from college, and I was sort of experimenting sexually in a queer way, but I was somehow convincing myself that, that label didn't apply to me. So by the time I graduated, moved into an apartment that was a little farther away from, my parents, and just kind of felt like a little bit more independent, I guess. I actually went to a bookstore and picked up this book of short stories one evening after I had spent the day working on murals. So my friend Melissa and I painted murals together after college. And so one day after mural painting, I went and got this book of short stories, and I randomly opened it up to the middle of the book, and it was a story about a character who was gay, and in the story it wasn't written in first person or third person. I think maybe it's called second person, where the pronouns are always you. So like, you did this, you went here, and so I'm reading it, and by the end I was like, yeah, actually that is me. Like, it just clicked somehow reading that story. So I do think, representation in art is so important, because for me, reading that book, even though there were 5 million other clues in my own life beforehand, it really took that kind of confrontational writing style to make it click in my head. And from then on, I just knew I could not keep this secret anymore. So the next day when we were painting together, I told Melissa, and she was very supportive. So then started coming out to other friends. Eventually worked up the nerve to tell my family, which was quite difficult at first and didn't go very well. But very happy to say that over time, and with a lot of education and all of that they very much came around. And my dad passed away several years ago, but prior to that, he would actually be upset if I would go visit them, and my husband wasn't with me because he loved Dennis so much. So that to me was just like a really profound transformation. And my mom's my biggest supporter to this day. So I know not every family is like that, but it definitely it took a lot of work, and I kind of value where we ended up more than where we started.
Thank you.
So you have done so many different projects along the way. Could you talk a little bit about how you got to, I don't know, the critical mass? I mean, you do this work full time, right? I mean, this is your full-time job, is doing art. What happened at what point in your life that caused that transition?
Well, I think probably the fact that I just never had a backup plan because truly, and I tell artists this, like, who say, like, well, I want to study art in college, but I think I better get a double major, do this other thing too, just to be safe. And I'm like, well, that's fine. You do that if you want to, but I'll tell you, if you have a backup plan, you're probably going to end up taking it at some point, because it's not always the easiest career. You do have to work really hard. And I think one thing that has benefited me a lot is just being very extroverted and having a lot of confidence in my identity as an artist, even though I struggled with confidence in a lot of other areas of my life. I think I channeled a lot into art, so that was something I could always take pride in, and I have no problem going anywhere and telling someone that they should, work with me, or they should hire me, or look what I can do, basically. And I think you kind of have to be like that, and you have to have a thick skin and be able to handle a lot of rejection, because that always happens. And I think especially as a queer artist, and especially now with the, political tides turning the way they are, it's not always easy when your identity is tied so closely to your work. But I know I've missed out on things because of that, but also, I don't want to work with people who don't support my community. In a way, it's kind of a helpful way of weeding out the people that I don't want to work with. So I think the other thing is I've just bounced around a lot. I do a lot of different things. So I have done a lot of illustration work. I've illustrated over 400 book covers, all within the LGBTQ plus fiction world.
Wow.
And I also display, my fine art paintings in galleries all over the place, and do a lot of commissions and murals, and also a lot of teaching and mentorship. So it never gets boring. Every day is really different. I just got back last night from New York, spending 2 weeks there with my friend Bryden Shurin, this awesome trans artist and activist, and we do this program called Queertopia, where we work with college students and paint portraits of the queer students on campus collaboratively. So Bryden and I pass the canvases back and forth as a way of helping students feel seen and appreciated. And then at the end of the week, we do a pop-up show on campus and sell all of the paintings, and the money goes to a queer charity that the students choose. So we did it at Colgate University 2 weeks ago, and then at Union College last week. Raised about $1,000 at each school for charity, and really saw the queer communities come together in ways that they had not previously. So I think all of those kinds of things, a lot of what I do really is about helping to heal things that maybe could have gone better in my own life, and wanting it to be better for the next generation.
Well, there's so many exciting projects and murals that you've done, and of all these different things. Do you have any favorites? Is there a favorite?
I think probably my heart favorite was a commission I did a couple years ago for Dolly Parton, just because when I was growing up, she was my hero, probably my first little glimpse into what you could probably construe as some form of queer culture, even though she's a straight celebrity. But you can't have that much glitter and sequins and not be a little gay too. So I was just obsessed with her as a kid. And a few years ago, her manager reached out to me and said that she liked my work and wanted me to paint a painting of butterflies for her living room. So I got to make this butterfly painting and go to Dolly's house and hang it up, and it was just kind of the fulfillment of a biggest childhood ambition I could never have dreamed of something like that. And I'm pretty good at dreaming of big things, but that one never occurred to me. It was very random. I don't know how they found me. I did talk with them, and the manager, it just turns out, is a super gay guy who happened to like my work, and he showed it to her, and that's so one thing leads to another. So even though queerness maybe has ruled me out of some opportunities, it's definitely opened up the right doors too. I would rather have a painting in Dolly's house than in the Louvre. So I'm super proud of that one.
Absolutely. Oh yes, who doesn't love Dolly? She's definitely
Right?
an advocate for our community.
She sure is.
You have certainly been I'll just call it an art/advocate in so many ways. I know many years ago at Santa Cruz Pride, you came and painted portraits there for free. You've done stuff with Monterey Peninsula Pride. You've done stuff with the Rainbow Coalition that's going on there now. I know you're involved with the You Will Rise, an organization. What causes you to keep being involved in all these queer causes? Why do you do that?
Well, I think it's because when I was growing up, it made such a difference for me to have a mentor, that art teacher I told you about, who really encouraged me, gave me a lot of confidence that I don't think I would have found otherwise. And just knowing that there was someone who really valued me as a person and believed in me. And so I think it's only right for me now to try and do that for other people in as many ways as I can. And it really is such a fulfilling thing especially when I get to work with young people in any sort of capacity and, see them kind of accepting themselves more. I mean, we just had some incredible moments of that over these past 2 weeks in New York that because that's so fresh in my mind, but these students who, wouldn't even acknowledge their own queerness, out loud, or there were students who the faculty said would never even talk. And then they got up on microphones and proudly talked about their queer identities and how happy they were to be part of this community, and to be able to sort of fly in and have a little, my friend and I call it a little Mary Poppins moment. We get to fly in, kind of sprinkle some magic, and then once we see it's all, their community's coming together, we get to fly away and go do that somewhere else. And that's just a beautiful thing. I think it's what I'm here on this earth to do, and I would get really bored if I had to spend all my time alone in my studio just painting by myself too. So it's good for me too. And
can you give a quick overview of the You Will Rise project you're involved with?
Sure. That's a project that I started 15 years ago with my childhood art teacher before she passed away. It's all about using art to empower young people who have been impacted by bullying. And I think in the clip you played, it talked a little about that. I definitely went through some pretty extreme bullying as a kid, and art was my salvation. So we go into schools or community centers and host workshops where young people who have experienced bullying can come and make art. But really the important piece of it is making art together and doing collaborative pieces and kind of realizing that they're not alone, that there are other people who've been through the same thing as them. Because when you're bullied, it can be so isolating. And so then we do an exhibit of their work, and the community gets to see what they have to say about it. And a lot of times it's really kind of shocking because they don't talk to their parents usually about it either. So the parents get to sort of really have this new perspective into what their kids are going through. But it's mostly just very empowering and uplifting for them to be seen and to have their, experiences validated like that and their creativity validated. So that's been a very important, very special thing to me. And we do workshops and programs with that all over the country.
There are a lot of crossover topics between you and Melissa, who's here with us in the studio. And I look forward after the break to have you two talk a little bit about those things.
Wonderful.
During our break, we're going to hear a little bit more about the Ripple Arts Effect Cultural Festival that's happening now across Santa Cruz County. You can get your tickets now for the final event on April 26th.
Every great wave starts as a ripple. A spark of creativity, a note of music, a splash of color and motion spreading outward, connecting artists, ideas, and community. In Santa Cruz, creativity flows from the ocean to the galleries, the stages, and the streets. Experience art, connection, and the energy of a place where inspiration moves freely. Join us for the Ripple Effect Arts Festival and be part of what's unfolding.
Welcome back to the Pride Perspectives radio show. Those are sounds from the Ripple Arts Effect Festival. We hope you're all taking those in. Paul and Melissa, it's just so great to have you both here. You cross over in so many different areas. I'm curious, Melissa, I know you do mural painting like Paul does, and I'm just curious, any reactions you have to hearing Paul talk about his work?
I'm just in awe at his like breadth of work, and just like to be able to hear him describe all the different facets that he explores with his art. Because I'm like, I don't do just murals. I have currently in the last couple of years explored like entering art exhibitions and then having my own like merchandise and just like applying the different things that I've learned through making art onto different types of mediums, and to be able to hear someone just do this full time and like give me hope that I'm just like I'm almost there, and to feel like I'm going the essentially right direction, it feels very comforting to me in a way.
Yeah, Paul, what do you what are your thoughts for Melissa here?
Oh my gosh! Well, I absolutely love listening to you, and I was looking up your work while I was listening, and it's fantastic.
Thank you.
And I just felt like as I was listening to you talk, I was so impressed with your kind of fearlessness to apply for things and not knowing for sure if it was something you were going to get or not, but just doing it because you wanted to. And I also love the way you cross between a lot of different kind of commercial and fine art realms. Sometimes artists like to separate those and say, well, I just remember when I was in college, all the fine artists thought the illustrators were sellouts, and all the illustrators thought the fine artists were like burnouts. So,
isn't that silly?
And nobody in the actual real world cares. They just want to, hire people and get art. So I think like your authenticity, and no matter of everything I saw of yours, there's always like a flair of you in it. That's what makes it last. I think that's the key to having a long career. If you lose touch with like why you love to do it, then it becomes just work and it makes it harder. But I think I'm 46 now, so I've been doing this for a little while. I've been a full-time artist since I graduated from college in my early 20s, and
that's amazing.
I still feel so excited every day, and I feel like I'm still that little kid that was going to art class because I never know what I'm going to be getting into, and I just hear that enthusiasm in your voice, and I see it in your work, and I'm kind of jealous because I want to start all over again too. not that you're at the beginning, but I mean you're a little. I'm a little farther along, I think, in years. So you just enjoy every step of it, and don't give up because you've got a lot of talent. I can see that, and I can hear it. So don't ever let anybody make you feel otherwise, because they will. People will, and it's okay. But you just keep going. You
both talked about your passions for art. What do you do to keep your passion of art alive?
You want to go first, Melissa?
Sure, thanks. So what do I do to keep my passion? So even as a kid, I'm like one identity that I've always attached to is like I am an artist, and that has never left me. Because there were different things where I'm like, I was a martial artist for a little bit, and then I stopped, and I'm like, that's no longer me. But throughout my entire life, I'm like 32 now, I'm like, I've always been an artist, and that's something I've never been able to let go of, even when I tried to just do graphic design work. And I'm like, all right, I did the corporate thing, I did it, but I'm like, why does my life feel so empty still? And so there's like something in me that I cannot avoid, and I have to create, because it's a part of just like whatever your soul calling is just like something, no matter how hard you like try to fight it, like once you just decide to fully align with your authentic self, it almost feels like nothing can stop you. I'm like, the other night it was like 4 a.m. I was still painting a mural, and I'm just like, wow, I'm living my best life, and I haven't slept in 3 days. Like it's like a weird magical feeling of like delusion, and I'm like, I'm living my dream. And so I'm like, there's something about it, like if you're really into this lifestyle, like this is you.
And you're in the zone.
I so agree. Yes, I always say being an artist isn't something you choose. I mean, like what sane person would choose this? It's something that chooses you. Like I have no choice. This is what I have to do. And if I go even a few days without making something, I'm miserable. So it's not just a job for me. It's definitely it's my therapy. It's my creative outlet. It's how I express myself. It's so many things all wrapped into one. And it is also a way of earning money, and sometimes that makes it complicated, because if you're working for a client or something and they have a different vision than what you have, you've got to sort that all out. But at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful to be able to to do this. And I think the thing that helps maybe prevent me from getting burnt out on it is that I do always try to make a little time to do just some art for myself, like in a sketchbook or on some scrap canvases or whatever it may be, that I have no intention of posting anywhere or trying to sell or, trying to get any validation from. It's just really important to kind of a way of centering myself and reminding myself like why I really love doing this.
That's such a great message for do what you love and the money will follow. And what would you like to tell young queer people who may be interested in the arts?
Oh, the world needs you now more than ever. And I think there is a big fear among a lot of young queer artists about, their identities getting in the way of future opportunities, or saying or doing something wrong that could get them canceled in some way or another. But I think it's so important for people to be able to be themselves and to know that what they have to say is so important. I know when I was, like I was saying earlier, in college, I was trying to kind of just fulfill the assignments or do what I thought other people wanted. And it wasn't until I started to really express who I was and what I was feeling that my work started resonating with other people. And that baffled me at first because I was just making things for myself. And a lot of it was really kind of coded in a way that I didn't think anybody would even understand. But people would come up to me at shows or having seen something online and say, wow, how did you know, what my life was like? Or how did you know that I felt this way? And so I think the real connections that you make to people through art happen when you are your authentic self. And, the being queer is a journey. You might discover, your identity changes over time, or what you learn about yourself. You're always evolving, but the same is true for artists too. I don't paint the same way I did 5 years ago. So I'd be open to growing and changing, but never censor yourself or silence yourself, because the world really needs to hear from you.
Beautiful. And Melissa, what about you? You have a message for the young queer people who may be interested in the arts?
I feel like he covered a lot of it, but like in essence, I'm just like, in order to like kind of not survive but also thrive, is like you have to know yourself inside and out. Like creating art, especially for you, is kind of like having a conversation with your subconscious, because like even when I finish art pieces now, I find out more pieces about me that I didn't even know, and I'm like, oh, I can interpret my own story and other people can see that. And like for queer people, like your story is our story. That's why so many other people resonate with each other and resonate with our art. It's just art is a point of like connection, and if you're really seeking that type of thing, if you don't show up as yourself, then the right people won't be able to find you. And I'm finding the more that I ground myself in my own authenticity, the larger my community has become. And I found so many like amazing people, artists, communities through just making things for myself. And in essence, like making things for myself is making things for others. Like as a Filipino-American, we have this term called kapwa, which means I am not separate from you. Like we are the same. So there's like things like that in my culture. Like there's a different facet for everyone. Your story has your own twist to it. So even if you're making art that is quote unquote similar to others, like it's always going to have that part of you that tells that story.
Well said.
So each of you give you a chance to say any final words you'd like to share with our listening audience based on the conversation today. But also, if people wanted to watch you or find you, let us know how to find them. I will just say that it's been fascinating watching you both paint in different ways. I've had that honor over the years. And also there's great videos online of both of you painting, which is just fascinating in all your stories. But I'll let you two give your final word here before we have to close out our show.
Okay. Go ahead, Melissa.
Awesome. Thank you. This has just been such a gift. Like, one way I've survived as an artist is just knowing that just like I get to do this. Like this is such a place of gratitude that I can just thrive from. Is just like not a lot of people can do this and keep going the way we've gone, and I'm like are still going. To fight all of the anxiety and the self-doubt is just like learning how to trust yourself and like not hiding from you. And like there are different ways we can get lost in like the doom scrolling and everything. It's just like making the time to like be present and like making your own mind a home in a way will show up so well in your art and just like give you so much freedom. And so that's what
And if people wanted to find you, where would they go?
To find me, I'm really active on Instagram at The Letter Mermaid and as well on Facebook as The Letter Mermaid. I also technically have a YouTube that I haven't started but have at The Letter Mermaid. But yeah, and I also have a website at thelettermermaid.com.
Paul, your final thoughts. Okay. I'm going to close with a shameless plug because that's usually what I'm doing. I am just started teaching a weekly art class in Santa Cruz at my friend Rachel's studio called the Vision Sanctuary, which is on Cedar Street. So every Tuesday night I have an art lab class there from 6 to 9, and it's just an opportunity for anybody who wants to come and make art. You don't have to have any experience. You don't have to have any, skills in your mind. a lot of adults are real scared to try it. I think, they have the voice of that teacher or whoever it was when they were younger that told them they weren't any good still lingering in their mind. But I believe everyone is an artist at the core and just needs to find a way to express themselves. So if that is something you might be interested in, you can learn more about Art Lab at artmakesus.com. You just sign up. Come hang out, make art with a fun community. I'd love to have you join us. And then as far as finding me online, my website is paulrichmondstudio.com. And then all of my social media links and everything are on that website too.
Great.
Oh, I had one more thing. I'm also part of the River Studio 116 at the Tannery. So as soon as I start my project for the Santa Cruz signage for the Ocean Street Beautification Project, I will be painting all of those panels in that studio. So follow me on Instagram so you can see the updates on when I'll be painting those.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Wow, thanks both. Just what a fun evening this has been. Cece, you got a final quote for us?
Well, I have a few quotes here. And one thing Melissa said, she said, make your own mind your home. And I think that's a great place to start from when you start creating art. And then Paul's, beautiful website, I guess, is Art Makes Us. Art Makes Us. You just added a .com on there, but just that whole idea, Art Makes Us, instead of we make art or I make art, Art Makes Us. And so another final quote from some other artists, I guess, maybe you might have heard of. Maybe Pablo Picasso said, art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. And there's, I have a couple of more, but
let's do one more.
Okay, one more. So you guys want to hear Van Gogh or Salvador Dali?
Van Gogh.
Okay, Van Gogh said, I am always doing that which I cannot do, in order that I may learn how to do it.
Wow. We've had such powerful thoughts tonight. This has just been so incredible. So our upcoming events, for those of you who have not been paying attention, April 16th to 26th is the Santa Cruz Ripple Arts Festival that includes all sorts of visual and performing arts. Check out the schedule on the Ripple Arts Fest website, rippleartsfestsantacruz.org. Their final event is on Sunday, April 26th at the Grove. Tickets are on sale now on their website. Also on sale now are tickets for Santa Cruz Pride's Queerlantis, which will be on Saturday, June 6th at the Vets Memorial Building in downtown Santa Cruz. It will be a musical, drag, and dance event you won't want to miss. Tickets on the Santa Cruz Pride website. And June 7th will be the annual Pride Parade and Festival. It's time to register your parade contingents and festival booth, and we are looking for entertainers to be on our Pride stages. Also know that Monterey Peninsula Pride will be the last Sunday in June on June 27th. So there you go. Get all those on your calendar. Know that all these shows are recorded, so if you miss this one, find it wherever you get your podcasts under the name Pride Perspectives. You can also find it on the KSQD website and santacruzpride.org. Our next show coming up in May will focus on raising the rainbow flag and Harvey Milk's birthday. We appreciate you being here tonight, and we again thanks to Melissa and Paul for sharing your art and your queerness and your important insights into art. Thanks again for listening to Pride Perspectives, Conversations and Stories to celebrate the LGBTQ plus culture and history across Santa Cruz and Monterey counties.